Open a drawer in a professional kitchen anywhere in the world. Somewhere in it is a long, thin Japanese blade, sharpened on one side only. That knife exists because a storm in the year 1543 pushed the wrong ship onto the wrong beach. Nobody aboard was trying to change Japan. They were only trying to live through the night. You are holding the end of a very long chain. Most people never look back down it. If you do, the story does not run the way you expect. Because the town that makes that blade did not begin as a town of cooks. It began as a town of killers. And the thing that turned it back around was not a war at all. It was a stamp. Hold that thought. We are going to walk backwards. Start with now. Pick up the knife. Feel how the weight sits forward, past your hand, so the blade wants to fall through the food on its own. Look at the edge from the side, and you will see it is not symmetrical. One face is flat, the other is ground away. That single bevel geometry is not decoration. It lets the blade separate a slice of fish so cleanly that the cut cells do not tear, and the flesh keeps its shine on the plate. The town is Sakai, on the bay just south of Osaka. Its smiths will tell you that roughly 9 out of every 10 traditional knives in the hands of Japan's professional chefs were forged there. In 1982, the national government listed Sakai's blades as a protected traditional craft. But go into a workshop and you will notice something strange. No one person makes the knife. One man forges the steel. Another sharpens it. A third fits the handle. 3 trades, 3 separate shops, 1 blade. Why would anyone build a craft that way? Step back. You are in the Edo period now, the long peace that ran from 1603 to 1868. There are no battles to arm. Sakai smiths are hammering steel for something new and completely ridiculous, chopping tobacco. Tobacco came into Japan with European ships around 1600 and spread like fire. Smokers wanted the leaf shredded into hair-fine threads, and that demanded a specialized blade with a hard, keen edge. Sakai made it better than anyone. And here is the part that mattered more than the blade itself. The Tokugawa government began stamping Sakai's tobacco knives with an official mark of quality and granted the town exclusive rights to sell them across the country. A government seal on a piece of steel. That is the whole hinge of this story. Think about what a monopoly does to a craft. Guaranteed demand, nationwide, for generations. The smiths could specialize instead of surviving. A man could spend his entire life doing nothing but grinding edges, and his son could do the same, and the grinding would get better every generation. The 3-trade system in that modern workshop is a fossil of this arrangement. When Western knives arrived in the Meiji era and Japanese kitchens began cutting beef and vegetables in new ways, Sakai simply turned that inherited machine toward food. But a government does not stamp a seal on a town for no reason. Sakai had already made itself impossible to ignore. So step back again, and the piece disappears. It is the middle of the 16th century. Japan has no functioning central government. The country is broken into domains run by daimyo, regional warlords who answer to nobody, and they are all trying to kill each other. In the middle of this is Sakai, and Sakai is doing something that should not be possible. It is governing itself. The city is ringed by a moat. It is run by a council of merchant elders, drawn from its wealthiest trading houses who make their own decisions about trade, defense, and who is allowed through the gate. In 1562, a Jesuit missionary named Gaspar Viella wrote home describing Sakai, and reached for the only comparison a European would understand. He said it was like Venice, a merchant republic governed by its own men, in a country tearing itself apart. Money is why. Sakai is a port. Ships come in from China and from the southern seas, and everything the warlords want most passes through its warehouses. It is also, at this exact moment, the beating heart of the tea ceremony. Sen no Rikyu, the man who would strip the tea ritual down to its bare, breathtaking essentials and set the aesthetic standard Japan still lives by, was born in Sakai in 1522, into a family of fish merchants. So picture the town. Tea masters on one street, warehouses on the next, and in the workshops, day and night, the sound of hammers. Because Sakai sells one more thing. It sells guns. Here is the peak of the whole story, and it is genuinely hard to believe. Within a few decades of the first firearm reaching Japan, this small country was producing matchlock guns in enormous numbers. The American writer Noel Perrin argued in 1979 that by the end of the 16th century, Japan may have held more firearms than any nation in Europe. Later historians have argued hard about his wider thesis, and you should know that, but the core of it stands. A nation with no guns at all became a nation flooded with them inside a single human lifetime. The most famous demonstration is the Battle of Nagashino in 1575. The chronicle known as the Shinchi Toto records Oda Nobunaga bringing thousands of gunners to the field behind wooden palisades and the Takeda cavalry breaking against them. You may have heard that Nobunaga invented rotating volley fire that day, rank firing while rank reloads. Be careful with that. Historians now dispute the number of gunners and doubt the neat volley drill, and some of the details seems to have grown in the retelling. What is not disputed is that the guns were there, in quantity, and that Japanese workshops had made them. Nobunaga understood exactly where they came from. In 1568, he demanded a colossal payment from Sakai. The city refused. He prepared to burn it, and Sakai paid. Its independence began to end that day, and eventually its moats were filled in. The merchant republic was absorbed into the country it had armed. Now, go back to the beginning of that chain, because we still have not answered the first question. How did the gun get there at all? Nobody planned it. In the traditional account, set down in a chronicle called the Tepanakawi in 1606, a ship carrying Portuguese traders was driven by weather onto Tanegashima, a long, thin island off the southern tip of Kyushu, in 1543. The local lord, Tanegashima Tokitaka, was a teenager. He watched the foreigners fire a matchlock, saw a bird fall out of the air, and bought 2 of the weapons for what was said to be an outrageous sum. Then he did the thing that actually mattered. He handed one to his swordsmith and told him to copy it. The smith could reproduce the barrel. He had been forging steel tubes and folding metal his whole life. What defeated him was the back end of the barrel, which had to be sealed with a screw plug that could take the force of the powder without blowing out. Japan had no tradition of cutting screw threads. There is a story, repeated for centuries and impossible to verify, that the smith's daughter, Wakasa, married one of the foreigners so the secret could be brought home. Treat that as legend. What is documented is the result. Within a year or so, Japanese smiths had solved it, and the copies were being made on the island. And that is your loop closed. A storm, a teenage lord, one stubborn smith, and a screw thread. From there, the knowledge traveled up the trade routes to the places with the deepest metalworking skill and the most money to invest. And the biggest of those places was Sakai. The guns paid for the workshops survived the war. The government seal on the tobacco knives kept them alive through 200 years of peace, and the peace turned a weapons industry into a kitchen industry. But why Sakai? Why did that particular stretch of coast already had smiths good enough to reverse engineer a European firearm? Step back one last time, much further than you expect. Go to the 5th century. On the plain where Sakai now stands are some of the largest tombs on Earth, vast keyhole-shaped mounds of piled soil ringed by moats, built for the rulers of early Japan. The biggest of them covers an area larger than the base of the Great Pyramid. To dig them, to shape them, to move that much earth, you needed iron tools, and you needed them constantly, in the thousands, being repaired and reforged on site. So iron workers came and settled and stayed. The tombs were finished. The families were not. Their skills sat on that coast for 1,000 years, waiting for something to make. That is the real shape of it. Not a chain of accidents at all, but a chain of accidents landing on a place that was already ready. Tomb builders became blade makers. Blade makers became gunsmiths. Gunsmiths became knife makers. And the same families on the same ground kept hammering, while the reason for the hammering changed completely underneath them. Come back to the drawer. Pick the knife up again. Nothing about it is an accident of taste. The steel is folded and hardened by a method worked out for weapons. The single bevel is the geometry of a blade meant to part flesh. The three separate craftsmen exist because a shogun's monopoly made specialization safe. The town it came from exists as a blade town because someone needed iron shovels 1,500 years ago, and then because a ship got caught in bad weather in 1543. Here is what I want to leave with you. Almost nothing survives for the reason it was invented. Things survive because someone found them a second job. So look in your own kitchen drawer tonight and find the thing that outlived the reason it was made. What is it? The next time you watch a chef draw that long blade through a piece of fish in one clean, unhurried pull, you will not just be watching a cook. You will be watching the last quiet job of a 500-year-old weapons industry, still going, still sharp, still fed by a storm nobody chose.